Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You're listening to 87.7 FM, joined by myself, Mawlana Uzair, and I'm joined today here with Ibrahim, Khalid, and Shehbaz Pathan from Khidmah organization. Assalamu alaikum to you both.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you both?
Alhamdulillah, Mawlana. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah, very good. So, just for our guests that are listening, I thought we'd just do a little bit of introduction so that everyone knows who you both are. Ibrahim, shall we start with yourself? Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and you know what made you be so active in the community?
What made me be so active in the community already?
Ajib.
Subhanallah. We've only just started. So, Assalamu alaikum everyone listening. My name's Ibrahim Khalid. I am the lead for marketing and social media at Khidmah organization. And I'm also a football coach at Nirvana Football Club, or Leicester Nirvana Football Club, to be precise, before I get clipped around the back of the head. I've been giving back to the community and being active in the community is something that I've always sort of had a passion for. So going back a few years, I'd volunteer regularly for charities and, you know, would be a coach at another football club, CFA. Growing up, unfortunately, had its toll on the spare time that I have, but now, you know, I'm working full time and I can gain some of that time back. I think it's important that, you know, I start giving back to the community again. And I suppose Khidmah organization there's no better place for me to be a part of, for me to give back.
Oh, mashallah. Sounds like you are forced to say that.
Yeah, you held me at gunpoint.
And Shehbaz, can you tell our listeners about yourself, please?
Okay, so my name's Shehbaz. I'm part of the group that oversees football for Khidmah on the Unity Day, alongside Umar, Teds and Jamil. Alongside that, I'm also a coach at Leicester Nirvana Football Club. That's how it's done.
Oh, thank you.
Alongside that, I'm also a coach at Leicester Nirvana Football Club. I've been involved in football and community work for over 10 years. One of the biggest reasons why I'm actually involved in community work is because I grew up around my father and my grandfather doing a lot of community work. They were getting involved with Masajid, they were getting involved with MBCO, FMO, and I guess I'm trying to carry on and further their legacy.
MashaAllah. Allah accept from you both.
Ameen.
So today, for our listeners, we're going to discuss sports in light of the Quran and Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So let's kick off the show, and I wanted to start with a verse from the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 247. Allah mentions, and Allah has increased him abundantly in knowledge and stature. Now, that verse is in regards to Talut alayhi salam. But nonetheless, the Quran is relevant for us all. And Allah says, increased him abundantly in knowledge and stature. Those are the two things that Allah mentions. Knowledge we're not going to discuss because that's not what's on our show plan. But stature is mentioned. So what do I mean by stature? Stature means keeping the body healthy. And why is that important? It's because Allah has mentioned that our body is in fact an amana. It's a loan that has been given to us. It's much like a vehicle that we've got in this world, and thereafter, when we return to Allah, we'll be returning that vehicle. Now, I'd like to give a analogy here, and I'd say that if you were to take out a car, you buy a new car or you borrow someone's car and you're going on a long journey, one of the first things you do before you get in the car is you do your vehicle checks, okay? Ibrahim, you don't?
Sometimes.
But we do our due diligence when it comes to going on a long journey. We do the oil check, tire pressure, ensure there's enough fuel, etc. Once we've done that, then we go on a long journey. We wouldn't take the risk of going on a lengthy journey without doing those checks. In the same way, we have to return our vehicle in a right manner, where we're going to be accountable for it. So we need to make sure that we preserve our body and we give it its rights that's due. So in light of that, with regards to the body being an amana and how important sports is for us as Muslims, Shehbaz, for yourself, why is sports so important for not just the Muslims, but particularly for our youth? I want to address why is it so important for our youth to be actively involved in sports?
So for me, there's a number of key skills and transferable skills that you can actually pick up through sports. First and foremost is respect, and it's respect not just for your fellow players, the opposition, but it's also the referees and or whoever has is setting the tone for the fixture or the game. It's also a discipline, regardless of which sport you're in. There's always going to be an element of discipline, which then leads to responsibility because you are in control of maintaining that discipline and respect. You also, you could have the opportunity of becoming a captain, for example, in football. Therefore, you then hold the responsibility for the team to make sure that their confidence and just the demeanor of the squad is constantly being pushed to limits. There's which kind of brings in communication, life skills. So it's all transferable. There's things that you can take from that and into school life, into work life, into whatever part of life that you want to incorporate that into. One of the biggest things that I do want to bring in, especially on this topic, is something that's not addressed as much as we'd like for it to be. Especially within sport, and that's mental health. It really does help everyone's mental health, whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, even whether you're a parent, because it gives you a chance for that hour, for those 2 hours, to just escape normal life and focus on passions and things that make you happy. So there's also a big element of that as well.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to touch up on mental health and sports with Ibrahim. What I'd like to do is I'd like to request our listeners, whoever's listening, to call in, text, WhatsApp, share your thoughts on sports in Islam, what kind of sports you're involved in, what more sports you would like to actually try in the community, so that we can see if there's things that we can facilitate or we can point you in the right direction, signpost you to the relevant people that actually conduct those sports. So you can call in on 0116 48 22086, or you can text on the number 07488 55055. So you mentioned the importance of sports and the various different skills, not just life skills, but other skills that youth can particularly take from this. Now, I wanted to twist that onto an Islamic perspective and look at it in terms of how sports is not just a method of our children getting some life skills, but it's also a way of giving da'wah to our youth.
Definitely. I mean, it all stems from integration and how we then carry ourselves as human beings and as Muslims, especially when we're going to play, especially when, regardless of what sport you play, you're always going to be going into other areas that you don't normally venture into. That's something that Ibi is definitely fully aware of, and because as a coach, or we're both coaches, we have to go into areas that we're not particularly comfortable with going to, but we have to. And the way people will speak to you and react to you is how you carry yourself and your akhlaq, how you speak to them. Just because they're going to be aggressive doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be aggressive as well. You could still tone it down and be respectful. And that's something that we're trying to get across to the youth today, that aggression doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be the man. Sometimes to be the man, or sometimes to be that person, you can be respectful and deal with situations in different ways.
Absolutely. And that brings me on to a hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that a strong person is not he who can beat another, but a strong person is he who can control his anger at the time of when he is angry.
Allahu Akbar.
So it is very, very difficult to control that emotion, and I can only begin to imagine as coaches how many times you see those angers playing out in front of you, and trying to ensure that our youth maintain their composure.
Definitely. I mean, sometimes, Mawlana, it genuinely is infuriating. I mean, we're responsible for kids.
Mm-hmm.
When we're out there in the field, we're responsible for, we're responsible on behalf of less than Havana, and then you've got all of this aggression for no reason, and sometimes you're thinking, play that clip, bro, play that clip.
A bit of a delayed response from our producers.
Yeah, that's the one.
Bro, you can't put us on the spot.
They weren't paying attention.
إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ راجعون.
And that's exactly what you're thinking. But again, it comes down to the akhlaq, because people will judge you, and sorry to say, people will actually judge you as to how you carry yourself, and that is the biggest form of dawah.
Absolutely. So on that note, you mentioned that with the youth that you guys manage in terms of coaching and represent at Khidmah, you're trying to remind them that they are ambassadors of the religion. We are all ambassadors of the religion.
100%.
So it's important the way we actually portray ourselves when we are out there. And this brings me on to a story of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and a Sahabi by the name of Rukana radiyallahu anhu. Rukana radiyallahu anhu was known to be the greatest wrestler of Mecca. He was the greatest wrestler of Quraysh at that time. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he so happened to see Rukana in the marketplace. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw Rukana from a distance, and Rukana avoided eye contact with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because everyone knew the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be one of constantly giving da'wah. So he wanted to avoid eye contact and avoid a conversation with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went to Rukana and he said to Rukana, "Oh Rukana, let me tell you something, and if it sits well with you, then accept the message, and if it doesn't, then leave it." And Rukana, he was like, "I've heard this over and over again." So this time he goes, "You know what, let's have a deal." He goes, "How about we have a wrestling match? We have a wrestling match. We compete with one another right here, right now. If you win, I'll listen to your message. And if it sits well with me, I'll accept it. And if I win, you leave me alone. You won't talk to me about this ever again." So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Chalo khair, Bismillah." So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rukana, they started getting ready, whatever they do to get ready to wrestle. And crowds started forming, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he grabs Rukana, picks him up, and he body slams Rukana on the ground. And now Rukana, he wasn't just a nobody. He was the greatest wrestler that was known in the Quraysh. When it came to one-on-one duels, if people know about one-on-one duels in battles, the Mubarraza, Rukana would always be looked upon that you need to do this. Because he was one that everyone knew if he was to have a one-on-one duel with someone in the Mubarraza, he would definitely beat them. And he was never, on a one-on-one duel, he was never beaten before. So when the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam picked him up and body slammed him, Rukana, when you get body slammed, I don't know, I've never been body slammed, and inshallah it never comes to that. But apparently when you get body slammed, it takes the wind out of you. You get a bit of a shock.
Mawlana has been studying UFC.
I was going to say it's much like WWE, but then I would have to say for those listeners that do watch it, astaghfirullah. But nonetheless, the wind was taken out of Rukana radiyallahu anhu. And then Rukana, he gets up and he goes to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He goes, "No one has ever defeated me, let alone someone actually pulling me to the ground. No one's ever done that before."
Wow.
So then Rukana goes, "Again, let's go again." And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Chalo, Bismillah. And they go again. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam repeats it. Gets him, picks him up, and literally body slams him. And then for a third time, the same thing happens. And Rukana is just completely perplexed by what's happened. And then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, are you perplexed by this? And then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives him da'wah on tawheed. Now the moral of that story isn't that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a great body slammer, which, and his strength was magnanimous. We know that. But the moral of the story is that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually came down on a level, and he was accommodating for people in terms of giving da'wah. If it meant that people will accept the religion by conducting or by participating in sports, even it being wrestling, so be it. If that's a means of da'wah, then that's something that we need to do. And it's something that I know, mashallah, yourselves are doing a lot with Khidmah organization, not in terms of bringing them to Tawheed, but bringing them back to the religion or bringing them closer to the religion and to our masajid. So before I move on, we have a message that's been put on the board. I'm going to read it out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam. Is there any or are there any club or groups for sports for teenagers, please?
So with regards to that, just send in an email to info@khidmah.org. Let us know what you're looking for, and inshallah we'll help you we'll point you in the right direction. But also you do need to state whether it's male participation, female participation, because we'd be able to narrow that down further and get you and get you in touch.
Signpost you in the right direction. Yeah, I think in terms of this question, it's very broad, and there's many an organization that's doing clubs for the youth, and we can point you in the right direction. I think it'd be good if we get a little more details as to the demographic of where you live, etc., so that we can point the person in the right direction.
Definitely. I mean, we've got connections with archery, horse riding, obviously football. There's cricket. There's so many. There's martial arts, and even within martial arts, there's so many different genres. So yeah, alhamdulillah, as Khidmah, we have existing brilliant connections with a lot of organizations that we would be able to get you in touch with. Jazakallah
for that question. Please do send in your questions if you have any more. So
what's the number?
What's the number? It's 07488555055.
Spoken like a true professional.
Thank you.
You've done text in at 07748555055.
If I'd known that feature was available prior to the show, I would have just said that. But Jazakallah for that to our brothers who are working very hard in the background. So
just destroyed Mawlana's radio host.
I know.
Career just there.
I know. That was the only job I had. There's no use of me anymore. So we discussed about the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam coming on a level and accommodating people and giving da'wah through sports. So moving on and building upon that, Ibrahim, what opportunities can youth get from sports?
I thought you were going to finish that question.
No.
Cool. So I suppose one of the first things in touch with what was just said is the barriers are broken. So Shehbaz mentioned that as coaches, throughout all age groups, with your teams, you'd be traveling to places you never knew exist in Leicestershire. So, like villages towards Loughborough or towards Lutterworth or elsewhere. And sometimes when you turn up, or a lot of the time when you turn up, you look around and you think, okay, well, we're the only brown people here. And to be able to break that barrier, to be able for me to have a laugh with the other coach, to engage in, even if it's just a 5-10 minute conversation, how's your season going? That player is really good. Just to come across as friendly and to then ensure that our children are playing in a respectful manner. It's a brilliant way to break barriers for people across people from different cultural backgrounds, or even people from different religious backgrounds, to start to gain a better understanding of one another and hopefully allow them to build respect for one another. It also one of the biggest opportunities right now, I suppose, is friendship between your teammates.
Definitely.
You sometimes, like, a lot of the time, the kids are excited to just turn up and play because they've built existing teammates. So I've only been a part of my team for 2.5 months or something like that. But as soon as I joined, I instantly knew who were the closest, which groups stayed together in training, and that's for me to build on. And it's something beautiful to see, because outside of football, sometimes at school, you never know what a kid might be going through, whether they don't have many friends at school, or if they don't have a social life outside of school, because sometimes kids tend to host like football events like with their friends, or invite people around to their house and stuff like that. So just to have sport there as a great networking tool and a great friendship creation tool for the kids is very, very important. And just as Shehbaz mentioned earlier, a lot of your core skills are built upon as well. So core skills meaning things such as teamwork, leadership, your time management, competition, and sportsmanship. It also allows us to handle pressure, management, and responsibility as well, which are all key skills in line with our faith. So practicing our anger, practicing sportsmanship, making sure that even when we are winning, we aren't too braggy about it, which is ironic right now, given that there are there's a Leicester fan, a Liverpool fan, and a Chelsea fan here in the building. So talking about sports and winning probably isn't the greatest thing to do right now. And Mawlana Uzair is just staring at me dead in the face. But yeah, there are just a few opportunities. But yeah,
That's amazing. And there seems that there's so many opportunities that our youth can derive from sports.
Many opportunities, Mawlana. See, when we talk about sport, 99% of the thoughts that come straight into our mind is all about playing the sport or participating. But a lot of people won't look at, for example, they won't look at refereeing courses, or they won't look at coaching courses. Like if I was to say this right now to Mawlana, that Mawlana, as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, right? You go through your refereeing course, and you are asked to ref games an hour, right, on a Sunday, and you get paid £15 an hour. Would you take it?
Oh, absolutely. I'll take it now.
No, but seriously, this is not common knowledge. And so for people who are in football, to us that's common knowledge, but outside of that group, it's not common knowledge, and that is something that actually happens. You can be 14 years old, you could qualify as a referee as long as you get your 5 games done, which I think would have to be free of charge, so don't quote me on that. But after that, you get paid to ref.
Wow.
And you can build up. So it starts at 15, and then you could end up with 50, 60, 70 quid an hour. And there's quite a few young people who have actually done that. There's other young people who have undertaken coaching courses, which then, it helps with their careers, it helps with their CVs, it helps with their university applications, their college applications, because those sorts of applications, they look for what else can a person bring to our organization? What else can a person bring to our community? What is different about this person?
Yep.
And sport can offer that. People just need to, they need to be able to ask questions. First and foremost, ask the right questions to the right people. And again, if you do need help with that, and you do need any information, if you do need any advice, then please do email info@khidmah.org, and we will try our best to help.
Inshallah.
But saying that, Mawlana, we've just had a text message.
Okay, go on.
So, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Can you hit people in the face if you do martial arts Islamically? Maybe that's not one for you, that's from Mawlana.
Oh, Ibrahim, do you want to answer?
I mean, there's a hadith.
Go on.
I mean, you can verify the authenticity of the hadith because, I'm not a Mawlana. But when making notes for this show, I wanted to try look at, all Islamic angles just to make sure that, us three were having a great conversation. And one of the hadiths that I came across was that when any one of you fights, let him avoid striking the face, which is narrated by Al-Bukhari. I'll leave the rest with Mawlana.
Bishak, so it is not permissible to strike the face. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has directed and instructed us to avoid hitting the face. It's impermissible. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam never once hit the face of anyone, be in warfare or in normal time. So in regards to that question, it will be impermissible to hit the face.
But then, sorry, Mawlana, I'm just going to dive more into this question. Sorry, I apologize. It's just because I just have a question for it. So what happens if let's say, for example, you go to a boxing club, right? You're a member at a boxing club, and you're taking part in sparring. They've got a head guard on, and same thing. Say you do kickboxing, and you're taking part in an interclub tournament. What happens under those circumstances? I mean, because now you're actually competing for something.
Absolutely. And there's fatwas online, which I'm going to direct people to, because I think this isn't the right place for me to discuss this. But the mufti have given fatwas on this, and they've talking about the permissibility of boxing, kickboxing, etc. And I'll direct you to Darul Ifta of Mufti Muhammad, who has a lot of resources on this matter. But the premise is that it's still impermissible.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Jazakallah for this,
competition or not.
It's because the question was actually quite broad, but then when you take the question and dissect it into sport and actual circumstances of people and what they're into, what they participate in, then there is an element of that question that needs to be asked.
No, absolutely. No, Jazakallah for that question. If you have any more questions, please do keep them coming. It's 07488 55055.
So they're not going to play it now.
Now they're not going to play Ajib.
Producers are sleeping.
Yep.
Also, if you'd like to call in, please do call in. We'd love to hear from you. It's 0116 4822 086.
Call us on our studio line 0116 4822 086.
Right, that's my cue to leave. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You guys can continue. Brothers from the studio.
Play the clip.
إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.
Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So, Brother Khalid, Ibrahim, sorry, you mentioned the opportunities that we can derive from sports. I wanted to touch on a little about what type of sports the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam enjoyed doing and what he encouraged on. So and the fact that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam actively participated in sports. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam once him and Aisha radiyallahu anha, they had a race, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam he allowed Aisha radiyallahu anha to beat him. And then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Aisha, a couple of years later, they had another race, and that time the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was still holding on to losing that first time. So this time the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam outran Aisha radiyallahu anha, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned to Aisha saying, this time it's for we're even, basically. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was competitive as well, and he wanted to actively participate in sports. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has directed us to encourage our youth to participate in sports such as archery, swimming, horse riding, and I wanted to touch upon that archery and not swimming because we don't have the facilities for it, but archery and potentially even horse riding. Those are things that are going to be looked at in Khidmah this year, isn't it, Shehbaz?
Inshallah, yes. No, definitely. So archery and horse riding are two things that we're looking into. Nothing's confirmed just yet. They are avenues that we're looking down because we do have to look at the feasibility of things. We've got to look at the risk assessments, the area available. And then make a decision from there.
I remember last year Khidmah did have archery in the gates at Crown Hills, and that was a huge hit, wasn't it?
It was. It definitely was a huge hit. People or participants that were coming in throughout the day, they were genuinely intrigued because it's not something that is too.
It's not quite accessible.
Yeah, it's not accessible at all.
Yeah, I think with the event last year, like, from my understanding, I think most people, or most of our community, are at least aware of archery being a sunnah. But with it not being that accessible, like Shehbaz was mentioned, when they turned up and they just seen the bow and arrow and the whole setup, they were quite intrigued, which is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, hopefully, and this definitely is the hope, that inshallah, they start participating through just a glimpse of archery. And should horse riding go ahead this year, then inshallah we also aim for the same thing to happen.
Inshallah. So that's archery and horse riding. Inshallah, that's going to be revived.
Yes. So
Khidmah.
that's Sunday 16th July.
Sunday
16th July, Crown Hills.
Crown Hills.
Yes.
Be there or be square.
Gee. What does that mean?
That's why he's square, because he's never there.
Oh, yeah. Bishop.
Okay.
So, what other sports do the youth have to look forward to at Khidmah this year? And what other activities can they look forward to?
So activities, again, the entire list will be published on the Khidmah Instagram, Facebook, potentially the website as well, after Ramadan, inshallah, once everything's confirmed. But in terms of sport, they will definitely have football to look forward to. So this year, instead of the 3 age groups, we've got 4 age groups. So we've got under 10s, under 12s, under 14s, under 16s. Unfortunately, under 16s is now closed. Because we've reached maximum occupancy for that. There's still a few spaces left for Madaris to enter for under 10s, under 12s, under 14s. So if you haven't got your form in, please get your form in now, so we can get it put onto our database. There will be player forms that will be going out in the next 10 to 14 days, or in the next fortnight, inshallah. So we can start getting players registered as well.
Inshallah, look forward to it. Ibrahim, we have a question on the board. Do you want to read that out?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
If you do archery whilst horse riding, do you get double the rewards? A part of me thinks this is a question from our brother Jamal, because it sounds like a question he would ask.
Yeah.
But I'll leave the answer to Mawlana Uzair.
If this was from brother Jamal, please text in and rescind your message. Walaikum assalam. If you do archery whilst horse riding, do you get double the rewards? It's based on your intention. So if you have the intention of completing 2 sunnahs, by all means, why not? It's all about your intentions. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said in the hadith, actions are based by intentions. Wherever you intend with that action that you're conducting, then so be it. If you intend that you want to conduct 2 sunnahs, by all means, you'll get 2 rewards. So, inshallah, have the correct intention, and yes, inshallah, you will get double the reward. So, it may be something for Brother Jamal to actually facilitate or to look into this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What date is the Khidmah, please? We've just got that message. Shehbaz, remind our listeners what date Khidmah is.
Sunday 16th July at Crown Hills, inshallah.
Sunday 16th July. Crown Hills.
Just going to say, after that text message where they were asking double the rewards, if that was Brother Jamal, Mawlana's thinking to himself, checkmate, brother, touche.
But yeah, just off the back of the most recent question we had, please follow Khidmah Organisation on all social media. We'll be looking to get the information posted out as soon as we can.
Yes,
and
definitely.
we will start to, inshallah, create a buzz. So yeah. Follow us, check us out, keep posted, keep your notifications on, and within a fortnight, hopefully we'll get the poster out and we'll start to share what's going on.
Definitely. I mean, in terms of the social media, there is going to be a lot more buzz on the social media this year, because we football's working with marketing this year. We want.
Oh no.
We want to put a poll out there with best team name who will win a trophy. On the day we want to do best kit. I don't think that's something that's been done before. So yeah, inshallah, we really want we want to interact with the audience this year, and we want to get their feedback, and the audience will be responsible for who wins team name of the year.
Ajib.
We do have a few. I'm not going to mention them, I'm going. Well, as soon as they go out, then we can put them onto social media. But
Can we mention the one from last year?
no, because they're one of them.
Oh, okay.
They're one of them.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, there's three names that absolutely stand out.
Inshallah, there'll be a poll out on social media to vote for your favorite one in the coming weeks, inshallah. So keep an eye out on our social media.
Definitely,
So
inshallah.
moving back to the topic, because we digress much.
Ajib.
So we're talking about sports in Islam
Ji.
for our listeners. Please do call in on 0116 4822 and just have a chat with us. Tell us about what you'd like to see at Khidmah. Tell us about how you found the previous Khidmah days. Share your feedback, or you can text in on 07 488 55055. So we discussed some opportunities that the youth can attain from participating in sports from Brother Ibrahim, and we discussed the importance of it from yourself, Shehbaz. And I wanted to touch quickly on just one hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah than the weak believer, although both are good. Okay, the strong believer is better to Allah, is better than the weak believer to Allah. And why is that? Why would we think? Actually, you know what? I'm going to ask the audience, the listeners, why do we think the strong believer is better than the weak believer in the sight of Allah? Share your thoughts on why you think the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this hadith, and inshallah we'll go through it towards the end.
Definitely.
Bringing you in, Shehbaz, because it looks like there's something on the tip of your tongue you want to share.
Yes, no, definitely. I mean, see, we're talking about youth participation in sport at the moment. A big part of youth participation in sport is the amount of volunteer hours that actually go into making this happen. There are some organizations out there which are fully paid. Fair enough. Respect that. But most of the organizations out there, they are built on volunteer hours. And you have to give credit where credit is due. Without those individuals, those organizations or those clubs won't function. So a big part of youth participation in sport are those volunteer hours, because without that, there is no youth participation in sport, or it's very limited. So again, should you be looking to volunteer your time, or you're interested in volunteering in whatever sport or discipline it may be, please once again do email info@khidmah.org, and we'll try and signpost you to wherever your interests may lie.
Inshallah.
So
So Shehbaz, staying with you, and the question I've got here for yourself is, what are the barriers to sports in our communities? Bearing in mind we've only got just under 20 minutes left.
No.
Just there, Mawlana.
7 minutes.
7
left.
minutes, yeah.
Ajib. We haven't got long left, guys.
So barriers in sport. I think first and foremost, the barrier in sports that we have, something that I can say from our community is, the lack of understanding. Lack of understanding is a big thing, and I can only bring that back to football as a football coach. But the usual understanding that parents or guardians would have is, we can take them to training once a week, and then they play a game once a week, and that's sufficient. And yeah, fair enough. For most people, that is sufficient. But for some kids, that's not. And being able to understand the participant, being able to understand the coach, being able to understand the sport, the discipline, that is one barrier, because you'd be able to really help actually nurture the talents and the skills of the participant at that point. In fact, if you take an active interest in it, it can only be better for you and your child, because it's also a bonding experience. Another thing is lack of funding, but then lack of funding, we can talk about that all day long. So I'm just going to kind of skip over that. Also, another thing is stigma. I'm a huge advocate of women's football. I will push that all day long. Like I was myself and Ibi, we were at Waves of Positivity's tournament last week. and the diversity that we saw, genuinely, alhamdulillah, it was amazing to see. The participation was, the age range was amazing to see as well. Now we were on the men's side, but just behind us there was also a ladies football tournament that was taking place, and you know, that is actually a very big thing within the community, because it's breaking stereotypes. And I mean, Ibi, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think it was good to see the age range and to see, you know, people having a laugh, people, you know, talking, people meeting people from other backgrounds, especially cultural backgrounds, which is something that we're trying to do in Khidmah with our fun day. By inviting different muktabs from different areas of Leicester, because you never know who you can meet. And with regards to the women's side, of course, we weren't really involved in that because that was completely segregated. But to just know that was happening, and to know that the fasted tournament was open for both men and women, and you know, anyone can just turn up and play. And for those who weren't fasting, they had to respect that the people who were fasting, because sometimes school friends would get together and put a tournament and put a team together, and there'd be a few players who aren't Muslim. It was good to see that unity amongst everyone, regardless of where you're from, you know, what religion you follow, for anyone who wasn't a Muslim. And from the females' perspective, it was good to hear that, you know, there was a decent turnout, and that a tournament was actually held properly as well for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, coming back to the question, you know, there's a lot of lack of leadership. We do have leadership. Don't get me wrong. There is a lot of leadership, but there's also a lack of leadership, because when it comes to a voluntary organisation, people are more than happy to be told what to do, and they'll just do it. Or they'll be on the side saying this should happen, that should happen. You know, how about this change? How about that change? But they won't do it. Those changes, or what you would like to see, will never come about unless you actually take the onus upon yourself and go for it. So that they're definitely some of the barriers. There's also cultural challenges, but we've kind of discussed those.
Yep.
And yeah, inshallah, you know, we can help eliminate those barriers in any way that we can actually do so.
Inshallah. I would have loved to have gone into that more, Shehbaz, but I'm just conscious of time, and I'm conscious that we've got one more question that we wanted to address, or one more topic we wanted to address today, and that was mental health and sports. Mental health is a massive stigma in our community, and it's prevalent in our community. So I think it's important that we discuss the benefits of sports in helping people with mental health difficulties. So Ibrahim, did you want to share what you've got?
Yeah, of course. Just a few notes. So there's been various studies to show that being physically active helps improve your mood. It decreases the chance of depression and anxiety, and it leads to a more better and balanced lifestyle. With it being a better and a more balanced lifestyle, of course, coming from an ethnic background, there are sometimes hereditary diseases that can't be controlled. But for when you see the elderly, you know, our uncles or our aunties who are active, 9 times out of 10, the reason they're still active at that age is mainly because of them having picked up sports from a young age. It also increases your self-esteem, your confidence, and just as Shehbaz mentioned earlier, it's that 1 or 2 hours you get, whether it's every other day or once a week. It's your time to just relax. So for people who aren't, you know, interested in football, which is what we're here representing, please, you know, partake any sport that's of interest to you, whether it's the Sunnah ones, whether it's, you know, something else, whether it's just going for a walk every day. Just do that, because you never know the amount of good that it does to you, for your body, for your mind, and you know, it contributes to furthermore, inshallah.
Oh, definitely. And again, as Mawlana said, you know, just tying it back into Islam, it's the intention that you make. So if your intention is to go for a walk, to, you know, just help maintain the body for the sake of Allah, that's an intention.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Of course.
So we've got just under a minute left, so we're going to have to quickly finish off. But there's a question that's come in. Salams, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Just wanted to know whether there'll be any volunteering opportunities for sisters. Inshallah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Inshallah, we are looking into Sisters Khidmah Fun Day, a Unity Day. That is something that we are discussing, and looking for volunteers is definitely something that we are looking to do and recruit for volunteers. I think that it'll probably go ahead next year, but please again don't quote me on it. Please do email your details, or if you are looking to volunteer in another sport or another discipline, again the email address is info@khidmah.org.
Brilliant. Jazakallah. Quickly to finish off, because I'm being told we've got literally 5 seconds. The hadith that we shared, the reason, the benefits for it, and the reason is so that we can be more active in our ibadah. There's 2 types of ibadah. Ibadah badani, where you have to pray your salah, go for hajj, things like this. Only a strong believer will be more likely to be able to conduct those ibadat. So may Allah give us the ability to practice on what has been said. Jazakallah to you both for coming. Jazakallah for listening.
Jazakallah for having us.
Jazakallah for sharing your thoughts. Apologies